Hello and welcome to Lantern Lane Stories. Tonight's story is The Boy Who Built Munich. The year was 1139. A boy named Heinrich stood at a tall window in Ravensburg Castle. He was 9 years old, maybe 10. Nobody was quite certain. His brown hair stuck up from sleep. His bare feet were cold on the stone floor. Below the window, a river gleamed silver in the early morning light. Frost edged the windowsill like white lace. Heinrich breathed on the glass and watched a small fog cloud appear and fade. Heinrich called his mother softly from the doorway, "Come and eat," but Heinrich did not move. He was watching the bridge. 3 merchants were crossing it, leading gray mules loaded with heavy white sacks. Even from up here, he could smell the salt, sharp and clean, on the cold morning air. The mules' hooves made a hollow clop, clop, clop on the wooden planks. "Why do they come here?" Heinrich asked. "Why cross the river here and not somewhere else?" His mother came to stand beside him. She smelled like warm bread and wood smoke. "Because this is where the bridge is," she said simply. "But why is the bridge here?" She smiled a little sadly. "Your father built it." Heinrich's chest tightened. His father had died just 2 months ago. Duke Henry the Proud, people had called him one of the mightiest lords in all of Germany. Now he was gone. And the king had taken away everything his father had built. The Duchy of Bavaria, the Duchy of Saxony, all of it gone. Heinrich pressed his forehead hard against the cold glass. He watched the salt merchants disappear into the town below. White breath rising from the mules in the freezing air. He would get it all back. Every field, every forest, every river crossing. He did not know how yet, but he was absolutely certain. That afternoon, Heinrich slipped out through the kitchen door. "Your cloak, boy," called the cook. "It is bitter cold." He grabbed a rough wool cloak from a peg by the door and ran. The path to the river wound between bare oak trees. The ground was muddy and soft. Each step made a deep squelching sound under his boots. He reached the bridge just as the afternoon sun dropped behind a dark hill. The bridge was wide enough for 2 carts to pass side by side. Its planks were old and dark, worn smooth by thousands of feet over many years. An old man sat at the far end, slowly mending a leather strap. His beard was white as snow. His hands were knotted and brown like roots in winter ground. "Are you the bridge keeper?" Heinrich asked. The old man looked up. His eyes were gray and sharp. "Who wants to know?" "I am Heinrich." He paused a moment. "Just Heinrich." The old man nodded once. He knew exactly who the boy was, but he said nothing about that. "Sit down. Just Heinrich. Your boots are muddy anyway." Heinrich sat on the railing. The river rushed below, dark green and very cold. "Why is the bridge built here?" Heinrich asked. "Why not 1 mile upstream or downstream?" The old man pulled his thread tight. "Shallow spot," he said. "Easiest crossing for 20 miles in any direction. So everyone who carries goods must come here?" "Everyone who needs to cross with a cart." The old man smiled. "The salt men from Hallein, the fur traders from the east, the wool merchants heading west, they all come here, and they all pay the toll. They do." Heinrich was quiet. The cold river rushed beneath him. A brown leaf spun in the current, caught a moment on a stone, then shot free and disappeared downstream. "Whoever controls the crossing," Heinrich said quietly, "controls the road." The old man tilted his head and looked at the boy sideways. "You are quick for a child," he said. Heinrich watched the water until the last light faded from the river's surface. A week later, a monk arrived at the castle. His name was Brother Anselm. He came from the monastery of Schäftlarn, 2 days' ride to the south. He had a round, cheerful face. His bald head glowed pink in the cold air. He brought 3 thick books and a bag of dried pears that smelled sweetly of autumn. Your mother says you need a tutor, he announced, stacking the books on the table with a satisfying thump, something to fill the long, dark evenings. Heinrich crossed his arms. I am not a baby. I go to the river every day. Ah, Brother Anselm settled comfortably into the chair across from him. Then you have already noticed the bridge. I have been thinking about bridges, Heinrich said. Why do cities grow where rivers can be crossed? The monk's eyebrows rose slowly. He had not expected that question from a 9-year-old. He opened one of his books with great care. The pages were covered in small, neat handwriting and tiny ink drawings. Look here, he said. Heinrich leaned forward. The drawing showed a winding river curling south through wide, flat land. Beside one curve in the river, a small cluster of shapes, little squares like huts huddled close together. What place is that? Heinrich asked. It has no name yet, the monk said. Just a few huts. Some brothers from my own monastery of Schäflarn keep an outpost there. We call it apud munichen. In Old Latin, it means near the monks. Near the monks, Heinrich repeated softly. The Isar River there is wide and fast, Brother Anselm continued, but one place runs over a gravel bar and grows shallow. A horse can cross without being swept away. So whoever builds a bridge there controls the salt road from the Alps. The monk folded his hands. All the salt coming down from the mountains must go north. That shallow crossing is where it must pass. Heinrich stared at the little ink drawing. His heart was beating fast. Salt was everything. Without salt, you could not keep meat through winter. Without salt, armies went hungry. Cities could not survive the cold months. Whoever holds that crossing, Heinrich said very quietly, is very powerful indeed. Yes, said Brother Anselm. He pushed the open book gently across the table toward the boy. Keep this. Read it on the long nights. Heinrich picked it up carefully. The sheepskin cover was rough and cool under his fingers. He could smell old ink and dried parchment. Brother Anselm, he said, do you think I will get my father's lands back? The monk studied the boy's face for a long, quiet moment. I think, he said at last, that you are the kind of boy who does not forget things. For the first time in many weeks, Heinrich smiled. That night, Heinrich lay in bed and listened to the wind rattle the shutters. The castle was dark and still. One small candle burned on the windowsill, its flame bending and straightening in the cold draft. He thought about Brother Anselm's drawing, the winding Isar, the shallow gravel bar, the cluster of huts where the monks lived. He imagined a bridge there, wide and solid, built from good thick oak. He imagined merchants arriving from the south, mule trains heavy with white salt. He imagined a market beside the bridge, stalls with brightly colored awnings, the warm smell of roasting chestnuts on a crisp autumn morning, hammers ringing from a blacksmith's shop, the voices of children running between the stalls. He imagined a whole city growing up beside that bend in the river, houses and streets and tall towers, rising year by year. All because someone had looked at one shallow spot in one river and said, "Here, we will build here." Heinrich pressed the monk's book tight against his chest. He fell asleep dreaming of bridges. Many years passed. Heinrich grew tall and broad-shouldered. He fought long and hard to reclaim what his family had lost. The Duchy of Saxony came back to him when he was just 13. The Duchy of Bavaria came back when he was 25, given back by his cousin Emperor Frederick Barbarossa. People had begun calling him by a new name, Henry the Lion. Then one warm June morning in the year 1158, Henry rode south to the Isar River. He stood on the muddy bank and looked at the shallow gravel crossing he had studied in the monk's drawing all those years before. The monks' huts were still there, apud munichen near the monks, just as Brother Anselm had drawn them. Henry built a new bridge. He built a market beside it. He asked Emperor Barbarossa to give the market its rights, the right to collect tolls, the right to hold a fair, the right to mint coins. On the 14th of June, 1158, the emperor agreed. The boy who had pressed his forehead against a frosty window in Ravensburg had built his city. They called it Munichen, we call it Munich. Tonight, nearly 900 years have passed since that June morning. The Isar still runs cold and green through the heart of the city. The bridges are made of stone now, and at night they glow golden in the lamplight. Street musicians play beside the river in the long summer evenings. Children eat warm pretzels at little wooden tables while the swallows dip low over the water. The city that a 9-year-old boy dreamed about, on a cold night with a candle and a monk's old book, became one of the great cities of the world. And now the music has faded. The market stalls are folded and locked. The last echoes of laughter drift quietly away along the dark river. And so Munich also slowly fell asleep. Good night.